Y'all, this was the ticket in the door from my students. Many of y'all, this was your ticket out the door. So once again, we're going to work this so you guys know what to do. We're going to do the opposite of a square root, which is to square both sides here. So when we do that, this cancels out this. This is 2x plus 15 equals x squared. We're going to move everything to the right because I don't like dealing with the negative leading coefficient. So I'm going to subtract the 2x and I'm going to subtract the 15. So it's going to give me negative 2x minus 15. So then I have 0 equals x squared. Well, I don't know why I put a parenthesis there, y'all, but x squared minus 2x minus 15. So now we're going to factor this. What are the factors of negative 15 that add up to be negative 2? So that would be x minus 5 and x plus 3, okay? So this is going to be x equals 5, and this is going to be x equals negative 3. Now recall that we have to check these because this is a square root. Okay, so now what we're going to do is check these. So we're going to do 2 times 5 plus 15. Is that equal to 5? So this is going to be 10 plus 15, which is 25. The square root of 25 is, yes, what? 5. Yes, so this is 5 equals 5. So that one's good. So that is an answer. Now we just have to check the second one and see if it also works or if it's extraneous. So on this one, we're going to do 2 times negative 3 plus 15. And that equals what? Negative 3, right? Okay. So this is going to be negative 6 plus 15 equals negative 3. So this is going to be the square root of 9. Does that equal negative 3? Nope, it does not, because the square root of 9 is 3. 3 does not equal negative 3. So this other answer here is extraneous, which means if I was looking for my answers, I would not choose it. Okay? All right, so our notes today are solving radical equations with rational exponents algebraically, and then we're also going to do some application problems, okay? So I'm going to skip this warm-up. We're going to go right into the notes, okay? So this says, remember that x to the 1/2 power is the square root of x. And normally we don't see that 2 there, right? So if there's nothing there, we know that there's a 2 that's implied to be there. Excuse me. Also, x to the 1/3 is the cube root of x, right? So because remember, the index is the denominator, right? And then, so this would actually be a 1 here and a 1 there, right? So the 1 was the numerator and the 3 was the denominator. So to undo a rational exponent, we raise both sides to the reciprocal power. So what is the reciprocal of 1/2? It is 2 over 1, which is really 2, right? So when we are dealing with this, we're going to do 1/2 times 2, because that gives me 1, right? Okay, and then same thing with the 1/3. We're going to multiply it by 3 over 1, which is, again, 3 over 3 is 1, yes? So this is going to be, if we were to rewrite it, it's 1/3 times 3. So that's how you cancel out the 1/2 and the 1/3, okay? Now, you can also change these to radicals. So we're going to do it both ways. Okay, so the first way, I'm going to do it by using the reciprocal. So I'm going to multiply this by 2, and I'm going to square that, okay? So that's going to be 2x plus 15, because now that's 2 over 2, which is 1, right? Equals x squared. We're going to do this just like we did previous ones. So we're going to subtract the 2x and the 15. So that's going to be minus 2x minus 15. So this is going to be 0 equals x squared minus 2x minus 15. So now we're going to factor this. What are the factors of negative 15 that add up to be negative 2? That would be minus 5 and plus 3. And we're going to set both of these equal to 0, if you recall. Okay, so that's going to be x equals 5 and x equals negative 3. Now, this is still a square root because 1/2 power means square root, right? So we have to check these answers, okay? So that's what we're going to do next. We're going to plug them back into our original equation. So I'm going to do 2 times 5 plus 15. Now remember, 1/2 power is a square root, right? So we could also do it like this, right? So the x, is my 5, right? Yep. Okay. So this is going to be 10 plus 15. That equals 5. That's the one that we just did, y'all. Square root of 25 equals 5. So yes, this is 5 equals 5. All right, so the next one, we're going to put negative 3 in there. And y'all, we just did this problem, so I don't really want to do it again. We know that this is not going to work, but I'll do it. 2 times negative 3 plus 15. That's again a square root. So this is going to be negative 6 plus 15. And again, that's got to be equal to negative 3. So this is going to be the square root of 9 equals negative 3. No, 3 does not equal negative 3. So once again, this is our answer. This one was an extraneous solution. Okay? All right. So the next one is, again, to the 1/2 power. So here, this time, I'm just going to do this with the square root symbol, okay? Just so you guys can do it. So actually, you know what? You guys go ahead and do this problem, then come back to me when you're done. And again, remember, you can multiply it by 2, the power of 2, or you can do the square root. So I'm going to do this one with the square root. So 7n minus 12 is equal to n. So I'm going to, again, I'm changing that to a square root first because I know that I have to square a square root. So this is 7n minus 12 equals n squared. Once again, we're going to move both of these numbers, right? Gone, gone. So this is 0 equals n squared minus 7n plus 12, right? So factor this again. What are the factors of 12 that add up to be negative 7? So that would be x minus 3 and x minus 4. That equals 0. That equals 0. So this is x equals 3 and x equals 4. Okay, now we're going to actually check both of these. So we're going to do 7 times 3 minus 12. We're going to take the square root of that and set it equal to the 3. So that's 21 minus 12, which is 9, right? What's the square root of 9? It is 3. 3 equals 3, right? Let's do the other one. Okay, so now this is going to be the square root of 7 times 4 minus 12. Does that equal 4? So this is going to be 28 minus 12 equals 4. 28 minus 12 is 16. Square root of 16 is 4. Miss Reiner said hi, guys. So 4 is equal to 4. So this one does check out. So both of these are actual answers to this problem, okay? So on this one, if you recall, once again, we're going to divide both sides by 3 first because we want to get that radical. X plus 5. Again, I'm going to do this 1/3 to the what? Third power, because 3 is the reciprocal of 1/3. And this is equal to 3, and again to the third power, okay? So again, notice this cancels out, so we get x plus 5. 3 times 3 times 3 is 27. So then we got x, and we're going to subtract that 5 from both sides, equals, whoops, sorry, 22. Okay, so let's plug it back up in there just to check. So 3 times 22 plus 5 to the 1/3 power. And you can do this one in your calculator, guys, to check it, okay? So this can be 3 to the 27 to the 1/3 power. That equals 9. So this is just going to be 3 times 3, which is absolutely 9, right? So it does check out. All right, go ahead and do this. You try and come back to me when you're done. Okay, so on this one, again, we're going to divide by 3. So this is going to be m plus 19 to the 1/2 power equals 7. And we're going to, again, multiply this by 2 because that's a reciprocal of 1/2. And we're going to multiply this by 2, okay? So that's going to give me, again, these two cancel each other out. So I get m plus 19 equals 49. Subtract the 19 from both sides. M equals 30. And again, we have to check this one because why? Because it's a square root, because it's 1 to 1/2 power. So this is going to be 3 times 30 plus 19 to the 1/2 power. Remember, that's just a square root. So this is really going to be 3, and that's 49. And you can do that in your calculator to the 1/2 power. That's the square root of 49. So that's what? 3 times 7 equals 21. So 21 does equal 21, right? So yeah, that one checks out too. All right, this next one. Woo, it looks messy, doesn't it, y'all? Okay, so on this one, we're going to, again, move this 10 first. So that's going to give me negative 64 equals negative times m minus 10 to the 3/2. Now, here the reciprocal thing is really important, guys, okay? because this is when you're really going to use it. But before we even do that, we got to get rid of that negative out front. So we're going to multiply this by a -1 and this by a -1, because that -1 is going to take care of that negative, right? So this is going to end up being 64 equals m minus 10, okay, to the 3/2. So now what is the reciprocal of 3/2? So that means we flip the fraction, right? Okay, so we're going to go times 2/3 to the 2/3 power, right? And this is also going to be to the 2/3 power. Now listen, in your calculator, you can literally go 64 caret, you can put it in parentheses if you want, 2 divided by 3, and it's going to give you a number there, okay? And that's going to be m minus 8, right? So when you do that, you're actually going to get 16 over here, equals m, whoa, minus 10. I don't know where I got that 8 from, y'all. I was like looking at my paper going, where did that come from? So this is actually 10, y'all. Sorry. I don't know where I got that 8 from. So, so m minus 10. So we're going to actually do what with this 10? Yes, we're going to add it to both sides. So this is going to be what? 26 equals m. And once again, we're going to check this just to make sure, okay, that it's correct. So we're going to go -54 equals 10 minus, we got 26 minus 10 to the 3/2, okay? So that's going to be -54 equals 10 minus, that's going to be what? 16. Now we can take that 16 again to the 3/2 power. And when we do that, when we take 16 to the 3/2 power, we get 64. So this is minus 54 equals 10 minus 64. So now let's just, we could either simplify what's on the right or the left, right? So this would be -54 equals, yes, -54. So it did check out. Y'all see it? All right, now, let's see if you guys can do number 3. Pause me and come back when you're done. So on this one, we're going to go -1, -1. So this is 2x plus 3 to the 2/3. This one is the most steps we've done, right? Now, what else do you notice still? Y'all see that 2? So yeah, we got to divide by that 2. So this is going to be x plus 3. Again, this time to the 2/3, and that 8 divided by 2 is 4, right? So once again, we're going to multiply by the reciprocal. So this is going to be 3 over 2. And this is going to be 3 over 2. And again, I told you guys you can do that right there in your calculator. So these cancel out. So this is going to be x plus 3. And when I do 4 to the 3/2 in my calculator, what did I get? 4 to the 3/2 was 8. Okay? This would be the square root of 4 times to the 3rd power, basically. Yeah. So then we're going to subtract 3 from both sides. So x equals 5. Okay? So once again, we're going to check this. So we got 1 plus 2 times 5 plus 3 to the 2/3 power equals 9. So this is 1 plus 2. This is 8 to the 2/3 power. That equals 9. Okay? So 8 to the 2/3 power is 4. So this is 1 plus 2 times 4 equals 9. So this is going to be what? 1 plus 8, which equals 9. So yes, 9 equals 9. So yes, it checked out. Okay? All right, so we got some application problems now. So it says the speed in miles per hour that a car is traveling when it goes into a skid can be estimated by the formula S equals 30, the square root of 30 FD, where F is the coefficient of friction. This is important that we know what that is. D is the length of the skid, marks in feet. Okay, and then we see this formula. It says, wait a minute, where's the S? Oh yeah, so it's speed in miles, right? So speed in miles right there. So that's our S. Okay, so this is S. That was F, and that's D. So we're going to go ahead and write this formula. So S equals the square root of 30 FD. So now what we want to do is figure out if we can figure out what each of these are, okay? So the coefficient of friction, so it says if the speed limit is 45 miles per hour when a car goes into a skid, the coefficient of friction, that was our F. Y'all see that right there? So this is our F right there. So that's going to be S is equal to 30 times 0.7. And then it also says, and the skid is 120 feet long. Okay, so D is the skid mark, right? Okay, so that is D right there, okay? So, and it's really good if you guys can label this like this, okay? So now all we're going to do is multiply those three numbers together. S is equal to the square root of 30 times 0.7 times 120. And when I did that, I got 2520. And then I'm just going to take the square root of that. So S is equal to 50.2 miles per hour, okay? But the question didn't ask me how fast this person was going. It asked me if the speed limit is 45 miles per hour when the car goes into the skid, was the driver speeding? Well, yeah, because the driver was going 50.2 miles per hour. So the answer is yes, okay? All right, then the next one says, how fast was a car traveling if the skid marks are 35 feet? And the coefficient of friction is 0.7, okay? So we're going to use the same formula. Speed, that's what it's asking us, right? How fast? And we're going to do 30. Okay, there's still our F, right? And then this is our D, okay? So we're going to go 0.7 times 35. When I multiply all those together, I get the square root of 735. And so my speed, when I take the square root of that, is 27.1 miles per hour. All right, let's go on to the next one. All right, so this one says, on a clear day at sea, the approximate distance D in miles that a person can see is given by 1.2116 square root of h. So this is D equals 1.2116 square root of h, right? H is the person's height in feet above the ocean. So how far can the captain of the ship see when he's on deck 15 feet above, so that's h, right, y'all? The water of the surface. So far, that distance, right? So we're solving for D. That's equal to 1.2116 times the square root of 15. So we're just going to multiply that, right? So when I did that, I got that the distance was 4.7 miles. Okay. Now the next one says, how much further can the sailor in the crow's nest 120 feet above the water see? Okay, so this time we're asking how much further. So we're going to find the distance, but then we're going to do a little bit more with that. So again, this is what? Our height is 120. Okay, so we're looking for the distance again. So this is 1.2116 times the square root of 120. That distance is equal to 13.3, right? And again, what is this? Miles. All right, so now it asks me how much further can the sailor see. So we got to go 13.3 minus 4.7, right? So when we do that, we're going to get 8.6 miles. All right, so the last part, part C. If the pirate ship is sailing toward them at 10 miles per hour, how much sooner will the sailor see it? Okay, so we've got a formula here with distance equals speed times time, and it says how much sooner. So isn't that time? So we've got distance equals speed times time. So I'm going to solve for time. So I'm going to divide both sides by s. And when I do that, I'm going to solve for time. So here, let me go down here. So that means time is equal to, those cancel out. So time is equal to distance divided by speed, right? So here we go. So our time, the distance was 8.6. The speed was 10 miles per hour, right? So we're going to divide that by that, right? 8.6 by 10. So that's going to give us 0.86, and that's hours. Well, I don't know about y'all, but I don't have a clue how much time that is. So to find out how many minutes that is, don't we have to multiply that by 60 minutes? And that's going to tell us how many minutes it was. So it's 51.6 minutes. Now we know how long. Okay?